As a kid, my family had a whole closet for board games, and we played all of them pretty regularly. With 2 parents and 2 kids, we had the perfect amount of players for nearly every board game ever made, and a lot of these games are extremely nostalgic to me, to the point where I remember the rules to each of the games and even have some of the cards memorized. On my channel, I'm always covering nostalgic mobile games or nostalgic web browser games, but today, let's get real. I want to play some nostalgic board games. All of the games we're playing I owned as a kid, but they should vary through a wide range of generations. From Tiddly Winks to Clue to Boom Boom Balloon, I feel like there's a little bit of nostalgia for everyone in my collection. So I'm going to go through each game, how it was played, and if it still stands up to this day. If I'd recommend any of you to check them out, or if I can validate anyone who remembers any of these games fondly. So, without further ado, let's look back at some of my favorite board games ever made, and see if any of these are so bad I wish they'd never been made. Wait, did I just rhyme made with made? I was inspired to make this video after seeing L Supersonic Q make a video on some old board games, including Piranha Panic, a game I vividly remembered playing but hadn't thought about for years. It's a really great game for kids because it's incredibly simple. Each player has a set of marbles with a little fish on them, and your goal is to get them to the top of whatever the hell you'd call this contraption. One board game in and you don't even have a conventional board here. Anyways, you roll the dice to get your guy closer and closer to the top, but if you roll a piranha, then you roll again to see how many big piranha marbles to send down, threatening to topple over your climbing fishies. There's even a fun little slot machine handle to release them. What's great about this is that it's entirely random, and even your marble might get sent down in the process. Whoever gets all their fish to the top first wins, and that's all there is to it. Like I said, this is a great kids game because the game itself is really fun looking, the entire gameplay is just rolling the dice, and freaking out when a big piranha comes up and chomps your marble is awesome. But the replayability of this game, well, there isn't much to it. I'd imagine parents might become very bored of playing this game with their kids after a few rounds. And contrary to popular belief, board games are not supposed to make you bored. I thought this game was cool as a kid, but I was completely satisfied after only playing a single round of it again today. Let's move on. If you want some excitement in your life, then Boom Boom Balloon is where it's at. This is obviously another game for very little kids, but when my sister is literally cowering in fear while this balloon is seconds away from popping, that's what family game night is all about. Once again, the entire game revolves around rolling the dice, and depending on the number you get, that's how many times you have to push one of the poles into the balloon. There's only 9 poles, so eventually you have to start putting some of them further and further in. You can't win this game, but one person can lose, and that honor goes to whoever makes the balloon. I really hope I just jump scared some of you at home. It is really quite nerve-wracking to see the dents in the balloon sitting in front of you, with the full knowledge that at any moment the balloon will pop. It's like in a horror movie when you know a jump scare is coming, you just don't know when. I really want to play this game with a group of like 8 people. I feel like the more people the better this game would be. But me and my mom also played a rapid fire round where we just went back and forth clicking in one notch at a time again and again before it popped, and it was also really fun. As long as you have balloons, you can play this game forever. But again, with such a simple idea, with rounds lasting like 3 minutes each, this game has very little replayability, and listening to your kids pop balloons all damn day must surely be infuriating. But with a bunch of anxious adults, this game is awesome. I would be shocked to hear anyone else own this incredibly old Wheel of Fortune board game. The instructions have a copyright from 1986. They were 1 year away from witnessing the damn bite of 87. But I think the novelty of owning a mini version of the Wheel of Fortune board is what makes me love this game so much. Apparently they didn't have the budget to also make the wheel, but I suppose a spinner is pretty perfect for achieving that goal anyways. But if you've seen the show, you can pretty much play with the same rules. It's Hangman with monetary rewards for guessing letters correctly. You keep spinning the wheel until you miss a letter or land on a negative space. One player must be in charge of the board though, they're basically the host. Each puzzle has a number corresponding to it, and in the little guide booklet you find the letter that's been guessed, and it tells you how many there are and what spots on the board they'll be on. I think they made it this way so that everyone can still play along without getting the answer to the puzzle, but it ends up being incredibly convoluted. Now, as you may have guessed, a lot of the puzzles are from the time period, so there's actors and references to things a bit too old for me and my sister to guess, but there's generally easy puzzles to get too, which are the ones we focused on when playing for the video. Again, the most fun thing about this game is actually getting to reveal the letters one by one, and I love this plastic recreation of the massive Wheel of Fortune puzzle board. Nowadays there are tons of Wheel of Fortune video games that are probably more fun in the long run, but this very old version will always hold a special place in my heart. We'll get to some more conventional board games in a second, but I think this thing should count, or at least fit the theme of the video, as this puzzle maze ball was all over store shelves for a few years when it first came out. Every kid I knew had at least one version of this thing, and my family, we had 3. The original one is the most colorful, but it has the least moving parts and is by far the easiest to finish. Except when your nephew is accidentally turning on hard mode by making me play in the dark.
Can you turn that back? I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, Dick. It's okay.
And trying to record good footage of these things is impossible, but hopefully you can see the goal, guiding the little marble across thin rails of plastic. At one point you go around a big swirly before dropping into the bucket, and then you use the bucket to completely flip the ball over and land on the opposite side of the swirly. It's pretty cool. We also had this weird little square one, which had some pretty cool sections, but because it's so small and all the rails are covering each other, it was impossible to record the marble doing anything with this one, so I gave up pretty quick. But it was still cool. The best one was the epic version, because it has the most fun gimmicks and a ton of moving sections. There's like a zip line and a tube slide, and it would be awesome to go through those parts, but I've never made it that far. This is so difficult, and while it's addicting to try to get further, it's also incredibly frustrating, to the point where I just accepted I'd made it as far as I ever will. If you've experienced the joy of going through the big blue tube slide, let me know, because I envy you. Anyways, Perplexus is freaking one of my favorite toys ever, and I'm sad they aren't really a thing anymore. I'd sit and play with one of these things for hours as a kid, and I'm tempted to do it again today. If you ever own one of these things, I'd absolutely recommend you go find it and give it a try. Personally, Labyrinth is one of my least favorite games on our list, but it does have a good gimmick and is pretty dang replayable, I gotta admit. The board looks a little strange at first, a sea of blue with a few squares with icons on them. These squares can't be moved, but you then fill in the rest of the board. You create the labyrinth each and every time. On your turn, you take the extra square and push it into a spot on the board in the hopes of creating the path you need. Each player gets a set of cards with amazing little illustrations on them, and as you play you have to get to each corresponding icon on the board one at a time. The other players can purposely or accidentally mess up your path while trying to get to their own goals, and that's definitely the best aspect of this game. It's as fun as the people you play it with, as you can make enemies who try to screw you over, or find allies to play passively with. Once you've gotten all your cards, you return home and you've won the game. The fact that the board will almost never be the same, and the cards you get each round are completely random as well, Labyrinth is easily the most replayable game we've covered here. That's not to say it's necessarily the best game, but I think it still deserves some praise. This game's turning 40 years old this year too, so with that fact alone it's earned a bit of my respect. Just a bit. We never had the box for this game growing up, so I never knew what it's called, but apparently I've been playing Flippin Frogs all my life. And this was another game made by the people who made Piranha Panic. These people made my whole damn childhood. Anyways, Flippin Frogs is literally endless fun. I would play this game over and over until the day I die. I don't care if it's made for kids. Each player gets a launcher and a set of colored frogs. When the game starts, the tree spins in a circle, and your goal is to land all of your frogs on the tree before it ends. Getting them on the sides is easier and good, but the top of the tree is your goal, because once the round is over, the branches will shoot up, potentially knocking off all your hard-earned frogs. Play this with kids, play this with your friends, play this with your grandparents in the damn nursing home, play this with anyone and they will have fun. Board games where you get to launch shit is pure unadulterated fun without fail, which is why I have like 2 games like that on this list. But specifically landing on the moving branch of this game is hard, and when your frogs barely hang on by like a single toe, it makes you feel alive. I'm a Flippin Frogs fanatic, and I will sing his praises until the day I die. If you own this one as a kid, you are guaranteed to grow up happy and fulfilled in life. Trust me, I know I did. I freaking loved the board game Mousetrap as a kid, but for some reason I never owned it. My parents didn't love me enough to give me my favorite childhood game, I guess. No wonder I grew up feeling sad and unfulfilled in life. So, since I don't own this one, none of the footage I'll show during this part is my own. But Mousetrap was basically a board game featuring a big Rube Goldberg machine. You build it as you play, and once you reach the end, your goal is to keep your mouse from being caught by the titular mouse trap. But if you lose, that means you get to watch the entire contraption work its magic, with the ball going down the stairs, triggering another ball to launch a little army guy into a bucket to release the net onto the mouse. Oh yeah, and there's entire spaces and rules around the rest of the game too, but honestly all I ever cared about was setting up the trap and watching it go. The game itself is as basic as it gets, really. There's nothing particularly special about Mousetrap apart from this one gimmick. And it's an awesome gimmick, but not enough to hold up a fairly boring game. Out of all the games we covered, I think Mousetrap would get old the fastest. There's really nothing new to do once you played it once. So maybe I wasn't missing out on anything by never owning this game. Does that mean I won't resent my parents for keeping it from me as a child? Of course not, don't be silly. But at least I own much better games than this one. Like Q-Bitz, genuinely one of my favorite board games of all time. Each player gets a set of 16 cubes, each with these same symbols on each side. 2 blanks, 2 dots, and 2 triangles. Your goal is to recreate the image on each card before the other players. The challenge in this game comes from figuring out how to use these shapes and symbols to recreate the image, with most of the difficulty coming from the triangle shapes. You can make some cool patterns with those. Now this stuff has always made perfect sense to me. I don't really need to figure out how to recreate these images, I can just do it. Which I thought was normal, but my family struggles hard keeping up with me sometimes, so maybe I just get this game, I'm not really sure. As you play, you're also supposed to switch up playstyles, where one round you have to roll your cubes like a dice, and can only use the blocks rolled correctly, otherwise you have to re-roll them until you get what you need. And lastly, my favorite way to play is with memorization. Everyone gets a few seconds to see the card, then you flip it and use your memory to try to recreate it. Like I said, this game comes naturally to me, so the most challenge I have when playing comes from these memory rounds. Some of them are super easy to memorize, but some of them can be tricky, especially if there's just random dots placed somewhere in the design. Maybe I just love this game because I'm good at it, but I think it's a really smart idea and forces kids to use their brains way more than most board games out there. I feel like solving these puzzles is a good way to teach kids while also giving them something fun to do. It's a game, but it's also a puzzle. Anyways, I've never known another soul who's played Q-Bitz before I showed it to them, so let me know if I'm not alone in this Q-Bitz world, please. My goal is to cover games from a wide range of generations, so it felt like I had no choice but to include goddamn Tiddly Winks. If you think this game is old, you generally have no clue, I promise you. I bet you're thinking 1940s, maybe even early 1900s. Nope, 1888, dude. There were 3 8s in the year this game was made. A British game known as Tiddly Winks at the time. Leave it to the British to add random syllables to their game. The entire gameplay is using a big chip to push down on the corner of a smaller chip, launching it in the air and landing in one of the targets in the middle. Obviously the version I have is a bit more modern than the 1888 version, with some nice colorful circles of plastic and a big bowl with varying points, with the middle obviously being worth the most. I don't know what British man is playing around with little chips in order to find out a game like this even works, but I guess I'm glad he did, because Tiddly Winks is a timeless classic. It's like the primitive version of Flippin Frogs if you really think about it. You can't really be bad at Tiddly Winks, so everyone should have fun playing it, but also, this is as bare bones of a game I can really think of. Like a lot of our games, after a couple rounds I have no interest in playing it ever again. As the classic British saying goes, I've tiddled enough winks for today. Let's move on. Once again, I never had the box for this game, but the frame thankfully tells us a name here. Don't break the ice. I guess that means it's also telling you how to play. You start by filling in the frame with all the ice cubes, and you can choose where you want the bigger cube to go. Once they're all in, you flip it over and take turns hammering an ice cube. You have to dislodge at least 1 cube per turn, and if you're careful enough, you can go all the way until you have no other option but to break the ice and kill the poor little skating polar bear. I remember loving this game as a kid. I love this bent green hammer so much, I'm probably the one who bent it in the first place. I'm sure there's some big brain strategy to figure out the precise amount of cubes you need to break before the game finishes, but the fun of it is just randomly going and hoping to have luck on your side. My nephew loves this game because you get to smash stuff, and when you get lucky and the ice doesn't break when it seems like it should, it's always exciting. I think this one has a tiny bit more replay value than the others, since you can choose where to put the big guy, but yet again, kids deserve games a little more interesting than this one, I'd say. Everyone knows Connect 4, and I thought it'd be a little lame to just choose the classic. And then I remember when Connect 4 went crazy and made Connect 4 launchers. I told you, we were a launching board game household growing up. Rather than using some sort of strategy or your dumb brain, we simplified Connect 4 by overcomplicating Connect 4 and forcing you to launch your chips into place to win the game. Get 4 in a row and you win. But in this game, your color can get covered. Your opponent can play defensively and keep you from winning. You can play this game as a civilized duel, simply taking turns patiently and lining up your shots, or you can be cool and not lame and just play it like a free-for-all. Whoever can shoot faster is probably the winner. But in all seriousness, this is sort of the most fun way to play because you can hit each other's chips mid-air. There's also a bottom layer you can go for, but to be honest, the top is kinda easier and it made for better footage, so we didn't bother. Also, we never learned what these different symbols on the chips meant because, like I said, you don't use your brain to play Connect 4 launchers. There's no thinking aloud. Only launching! Anyways, long story short, Classic Connect 4 is superior to the spin-off in every conceivable way, but it is funny to see them try to come up with new ways to play such a simple game. I like Connect 4 launchers and it's always pretty fun, but I'd always rather play regular Connect 4. I have played so much Pictureka that I can look at the board and find which objects have corresponding cards. I was a Pictureka addict growing up, I guess. They turn a hidden object game into a board game. And each time you flip a card, your goal is to find that object before anyone else and shout out Pictureka once you do. There's a ton of cards to go through, and for most normal people who haven't memorized the game like me, no one's really in a better spot than any other player. The most fun rounds are when all the players are looking and it takes like 5 minutes before it gets found. The longer a round goes, the more anxious you feel to find it before anyone else. I really like the cartoony art style of this game too. I can't say I've ever seen an art style quite like it before. And they did a good job of choosing a pretty limited color palette so everything and nothing stands out at the same time. It would be easy to make this game hurt your eyes while looking for these objects, but they somehow managed to avoid that problem. Now, like I've mentioned, if you play this game enough, you have an unfair advantage over the other players. Unless you exclusively play this game with the same people again and again so you all have equal knowledge of the cards, eventually you can simply play this game too many times. What's nice is every square has two sides, and you can obviously mix and match them to your heart's content. The important objects are always on both sides, so no matter what, the game will always work. That's an added level they definitely did not need to do, but only makes this game better. Pictureka is a banger, and the solution to the problem is to just make Pictureka 2, and Pictureka 3, and Pictureka's sister location, each with a unique color palette and cards, and you can combine multiple games to make even bigger boards. I'm a genius, I just made a hit game franchise. Oh wait, this is the second edition. Never mind. I'm unwilling to show myself and my family playing Twister on camera. Any game of Twister should be a privated, potentially ticketed event. My first live show will just be me and my family playing Twister. We're gonna get a whole theater pack of viewers eagerly seeing whether I have to put my hand on the red spot or the blue spot. But Twister is such a strange game, I felt like I had to look into the creation of it. 60 years ago, the main concept was trying to use players as game pieces in a party game. Allegedly, the creators were accused of selling, and I quote, sex in a box, which definitely sounds like something cranky adults would say in the 1960s. Because let's be real, for the most part, Twister is a family-friendly game. Although there is a non-0% of players who are creeps or getting freaky while playing this stupid game. You spin the spinner, you move the designated body part to the designated color spot, and it's more about balance and flexibility than even physically touching other players. I feel like usually when I play Twister, I pick thoughts that don't make me get close to other people playing. I respect their boundaries and they respect mine. But again, there are Twister freaks out there, and this game has only fueled their freakiness. Let's end with a fun fact. Nintendo was in charge of releasing the game when it came to Japan. Twister and Mario are basically brothers, dude. I love Fun City, yet it's a strange and unheard of game, so I left it for the penultimate board game today. But like Pictureka, the art style of this game is awesome and creates so much of the charm. If this game is anything, it's charming. You get a big old clock piece that goes up 10 to 20 minutes each turn. Each player taking their turn is basically like moving forward in time for the day, and your goal is to experience as much fun as you can have in Fun City before the day is over. As you play, there's a few cards out in different locations on the board, and you roll the dice to hopefully get far enough to pick up one of these cards. Some are only worth 2 points, others are worth up to 4. But if you don't pick them up quick enough, some of the cards will expire over time and no one gets those points. There's also a big stack of crazy cards that you should use pretty much every single turn. You can add to your roll or subtract from others. You can physically throw the pickpocket card up in the air, and if it lands on heads, you steal player's point card. You can make people fall asleep while taking the bus, going all the way to the other side of the board. Since you play them as often as you can, it gets pretty hectic. And of course, there's the slog, someone's little old grandma, if you're unfamiliar with your acronyms. She periodically crosses the street through the course of the day, and if you help her, you can go anywhere on the board. The slog is powerful. The game goes by surprisingly quickly, and at the end of the day, whoever has the most points wins. A game about visiting different stores and monuments throughout the day, trying to make the most out of visiting Fun City, is generally a lot of fun and makes for a board game experience unlike any other. It's super replayable and I love it, and please someone out there tell me you had this game and loved it too. I want Fun City to be real. I'd go vlog there and write it off as a business expense, and it'd be a damn dream come true. Lastly, basically the best board game ever conceived, it's Clue. I think Clue is literally a perfect game, and no matter how many people try to make cool new variations of it, or just any new games period, they should stop because Clue already won. If you've somehow never played it, there's been a murder, and each player is a detective trying to find out who committed the crime, what weapon they used, and where it took place. You put those 3 cards into a secret envelope, then divide the rest of the cards among the players. Since you only know your cards, you have to go around the board and ask to see the other clues from your teammates. You can ask for a person, weapon, and place each turn, and if the other players have them, they'll show it to you. But I could go on and on about the complexities of the game for an hour. What if one of the players has 2 of the things you asked for? What if you have one of the objects you asked for in order to fake out the other players? What if you happen to guess the correct combination on your first try and just win the game before the others even get a chance? That has happened to me multiple times in a row playing this game. There's not an endless amount of combinations to this game, but obviously there's a lot, so each round is always a new mystery. The most fun I've ever had in this game is when we accidentally put in 2 weapons and no culprit or something. So everyone's struggling to figure out who the killer is and accusing each other of cheating, only to open the envelope and realize the hilarious mistake. It has to be an accident though. You cannot cheat in this game or you go to hell. Quote me on that. My family has an old beat-up version of this game. It is so loved and well used that the box has fallen apart. We ran out of the official detective note sheets and used a typewriter to make our own, leading to some fun typos like the dining room. And we're missing a few pieces. Mr. Plum is made out of Play-Doh and Mrs. White's a damn teddy bear. But this version of Clue will always be my favorite. It's not shiny and new, it's old and stylish. I feel like Clue should feel a bit old and antique. It fits the vibe of the game. It's a murder that took place in the 1950s, not 2026. So my version of Clue is the superior version forever and always, no matter how many replaced pieces or typewriter typos there are. Even to this day, my family regularly has game nights, playing our favorite board games as a family, and occasionally buying new ones to try. I love board games, and I have groups of friends that I have incredibly fond memories of playing these games with. Almost every single game I own has a fond memory attached to it, which means to me, board games are special. They create core memories and connect families, and most importantly of all, they are fun. Kids can play new games from the last decade or games so old to learn about it in history class. The most fun part about board games is that each person watching grew up with their own favorites and created their own memories from those games. So please, share which games you grew up with, which ones you remember loving, or which ones you miss. Did I happen to cover any games that you'd forgotten about? Please let me know, and if I get enough games and support on this video, maybe I'll make another one. Thank you to all my supporters on Patreon and my channel members Patrick Bayerjan, Keep, Jeff the Legend, Cheaper Ying, Test Monkey, The Pixelated Gamer 08, Perskivin Enter, Checky, Timor Koronov, Aaron the Ghoul, Freakish Smile, Geminot, Lewis, Dante, MGR Damadan, Einerjar, Jonathan Biskov, OK, Sleepy Boy 74, Kirby Fan Real 1992, Green Man Yeah, Skibbity, Alice Wilson, Macdax 2, Lavatane, Purple Man 932, and LT Dan Ice Cream. I quickly realized very few of these quote-unquote board games even had a damn board. I don't know what the hell you'd call them then, but I guess technically most of these games don't even fit the title of this video, which means once again, I have accidentally clickbaited all of you, and you should probably like and subscribe right now for getting so epically trolled. I've earned it, you gotta admit. Anyways, I've never known another soul who's ever played I've never known another soul who's played Q-Bitz before I showed them to. I've never known another soul who's played Q-Bitz before I showed it to them, so let me know if I'm not alone in this Q-Bitz world, please.